Okay, so welcome, Julia Grace. I'm so excited to talk to you today and hear about your story. First question, what caught your curiosity about grant writing?
Yeah, I actually had a friend tell me that she thought I would be really good at it. I had really no idea what grant writing was before that. When she mentioned it to me, I was like, like that sounds kind of technical. I don't know if that's for me. Um, and the more I learned about it, because she suggested that I talk to a colleague of hers who's a grant writer, and when I spoke with her, she was saying a lot of things that she liked about her job that I liked about my job as a journalist. That she got to get to know people's stories, she got to talk with a lot of new people, she got to learn new things every day. That was all stuff that I really liked about my current job, and also was some of the reasons that I was afraid to leave journalism because I didn't think I could find another career that had all of those things. So once I kind of realized grant writing might have some of those things as well, that's really when it piqued my interest.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so many people come like, yeah, someone told me about it and they said I'd be great. I love that.
I love that too, and it makes me want to be able to do that for other people because
Yes,
I would not be on this path if it weren't for that friend.
that's so cool. Why did you choose to freelance as a grant writer? And maybe why did you choose to kind of side hustle as a journalist and a grant writer for a little bit?
Yeah, mostly because I was still figuring out what I wanted. And I wanted to kind of try grant writing out and see if I liked it enough to keep pursuing it. And also just not knowing what the next step would be. Like I didn't have enough
Mhm.
experience to get a full-time grant writing job. And I mean, there was no other way to get that experience other than freelancing and just doing it, right? So
Yeah.
it just ended up to be good timing in terms of what was going on with the world because my
Mhm.
full-time job as a journalist, we ended up getting reduced. Our hours got reduced at the beginning of the pandemic, so I had a little bit of free time, and I'm not very good at free time, so of course I found something to fill it like immediately. Um, and so I was able to put that time toward the grant writing freelancing and able to give it a good tryout.
Love that. So awesome. So tell me a little bit about your freelancing experience, how you got started, right? How did you
Yeah.
dig in, find that client? Was it nerve wracking? All that stuff.
Yes, it was incredibly nerve-wracking, like terrifying. Um, I kind of got my feet wet first, editing another grant, working with another unicorn that Meredith is working with on some grants, and just kind of like seeing what it looked like first, and that made me a little bit more comfortable.
Mhm.
And when I felt ready, once I completed the course and felt ready to go find my first client, I just thought about what organizations I already had in my circle and what relationships
Mhm.
I already had. Um, and I reached out to a nonprofit that I had worked with in a former journalism job,
Mhm.
and first just did that informational interview like, what's your relationship with grant writing, what do you have someone on staff to do it, what does that look like? And immediately he was just like, we need help, we need a grant writer, like can you help us? So that turned into my first client. And it really was like feeling my way through the dark. Like I think every step of the way was like going to Meredith and the learner writing community, like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? Um, but I think
I
we did it
love it.
right and we
Mhm.
got there. So I ended up doing a funding strategy for them, and that was my first paid gig.
Awesome. And so, really, your first kind of experience grant writing, minus the editing portion, was paid.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
paid. Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. So talk to me about, was it weird to get paid for something that you kind of had never done before?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I felt like I was just waiting for someone to call me out. Like I was just waiting for the client to be like, "You're not experienced enough to pay this much money. Like, how about this? Or how about this
Mhm.
much?" And like offer me less or something. And it never happened. And I felt kind of the same way with my next client too, like, I asked for what I wanted and just kind of like kept expecting them to come back, but it turns out, my clients have more faith in me than I do.
Awesome. So, and you produced fantastic deliverables,
Thank you.
and one of those deliverables landed you a giant contract, right?
Yes. Yes, it did.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, my second client I did, um, it was a nonprofit ski area, and they wanted to build a mountain bike park, and, Meredith actually connected me with them, and I first offered to do a funding strategy for them, so we signed a contract for that, and at that point, I was, like, really comfortable doing the funding strategy stuff.
Mhm.
So I completed that for them, again, like on the side of my journalism job. And at the end of that, they decided to hire me on to do the rest, to do all the work basically that I outlined in that funding strategy. And it would have
How
ended up being,
incredible.
yeah, it was a year-long contract.
That's amazing. For like 22,000, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's it just is amazing, right? Like it's so cool to know that you delivered such a stellar deliverable, right? Rocked the socks off of them. And
That's
landed a
awesome.
$22,000 contract. It's so
I
cool. So
really,
I'll yeah. Um I wanted to ask what kind of helped you through feeling like you were not quite prepared, but knowing that you were, right? And your clients paying you what you were worth, right?
yeah,
Where you they were paying you what you were worth. Talk to me about how like what kind of tools and tips did you use to kind of beat that imposter syndrome and like
yeah,
shine through it?
yeah. I would say the number one thing that helped me was knowing that I had the Meredith and the Learn grant writing community behind me because I knew that if I couldn't figure something out, like I could find the answer. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be in a situation where I would just have to tell my client like I don't know, I can't figure this out, like and I don't know where to find the answer. Like I knew that if I didn't know the answer, someone would know the answer.
Yeah.
And it kind of gave me that feeling of like, even though I was working independently, of
Mhm.
working in like an office environment or like I would have a supervisor or a coworker that I could go to for questions. Like, I think that's the
Yeah.
scariest thing about freelancing for me. And like going into the position that I have now, I'm gonna be the only person working on grant writing, so I'm still not gonna
Mhm.
have that like structure.
Yeah.
It's so nice to know that I can find the answer when I need to.
Yeah, it's amazing. So tell me more. Now we can pivot again. Tell me more about this new position you landed and then how you dealt with having a $22,000 contract, right? You're having kind of two opportunities
Yeah.
coexist
Mhm.
and how you worked through that. How did you decide what you wanted to do and what was best for you?
Yeah. So when it rains, it pours, right? So right at the same time I was offered that $22,000 contract and kind of going through negotiations with that. I had applied for and like really quickly landed a full-time job as a grant writer, grant coordinator at our
Mhm,
local county community health district. And I decided I had been applying for multiple full-time positions.
mhm.
I just like the idea of kind of like earning my chops on a salary. Um, and so once I landed that job, I knew that I wanted to focus on that because it would have a really steep learning curve. And I probably could have juggled this contract and this job, but I decided that I was going to choose my mental health over that. um,
Proud of you.
so yeah, and I ended up just being really upfront with the client I had signed the contract with to carry out their funding strategy. I just
Mhm,
said, you know, I had to take other work and
mm,
I will work with you to find a replacement for me. And they were
yeah,
really understanding.
great.
And I think that there were also some like communication issues with that client that I also like brought up in that decision to not
Mhm,
move forward with the contract. And I think that is going to really help them move forward. I think that they
nice.
kind of saw that and they're going to incorporate it into their relationship with this other writer that I set them up with.
Awesome. And
Um,
did that person came from the community as well, right?
yes, yeah,
Cool.
she was in my cohort.
Nice. Oh, it's so cool. It's just, I mean, your journey in what, 8 months? How long has it been?
Yeah, less than a year. I went back in my emails yesterday to see like when I first signed up
Yeah,
for the first workshop, and it was April of 2020. It's
incredible.
so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so proud of you. You're just
Hey.
amazing. So
Yeah.
what's your proudest accomplishment thus far in your journey?
Oh my gosh, that's hard. I feel like every step of the way, I have a new proudest moment. I
I love
think
that.
I think the the way that I kind of took a step back, like going back to before I got into this program, I knew that journalism isn't what I wanted to do forever, but I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
And just because of my personality type, I was getting really frustrated that I didn't have a plan, and then I didn't know for sure what I wanted to do because I'm such like a goal-oriented person, and I've always known exactly what I wanted to do and like worked toward that. So it was really frustrating for me to not like have that thing. I almost wanted to just like pick a thing, anything, and like make it my new thing. But going through the Learn Grant Writing class, I feel like I took a step back and like really thought about what I wanted and what I wanted my life to look like and what was going to get me there. And I think that taking that step back like really allowed me to decide what path was going to feel the best for my life.
I mean, that's huge, right? Like you pulled off a major career transition in the
It's
middle of a
so
pandemic.
yeah, I ah!
You should feel proud about that.
I'm really
Real
excited.
quick, what did you do to celebrate getting your new job? I mean, celebrate this career transition, right?
Oh yeah. I'm really big on celebrating. So I have celebrated in like several different ways. So when I found out when I got offered the job, I was actually on a ski trip with my husband's family, and I got the call when we were inside a store together, and I saw who was on the phone. I was like, oh my God, this might be it. So I like ran out, took the call on the street, and like went back to go find my husband. He had disappeared, and he called me and like told me where he was, and he was like, oh, who's that on the phone? And I didn't want to tell him over the phone, so I was like, oh, just a work call. And then I like saw him across the street and like beelined and told him what happened, and he like picked me up and spun me
Oh,
around. He was so excited because he knows how hard I've been working for this.
mhm.
But we've like gone out to get drinks, and my friends threw me a little Zoom party.
Aw,
It's been
that's
a
so sweet.
Yeah, everyone's really excited.
That's amazing. Oh, I'm so glad you celebrated.
Yeah.
So what are some key takeaways that you've had from learning
Learning what?
with us, with Learn Grant Writing?
Oh my gosh, so many. I think like going back to what I was saying about not just thinking about um like what your goals are, but also thinking about like how do your goals fit into your lifestyle, and like building a career that works with your life and not like a life around your career. I think Meredith models that really well, and that's not something that is promoted in like the entrepreneurial culture in America very
Mhm.
much. I mean, it's just really glorified to like sleep at the office and
Yeah.
work as much as you can and not sleep and drink 50 cups of coffee a day. Like I feel like Meredith really promotes this balance and shows that you can do both, and
Mhm.
that's been like a really healthy thing to have in my life during a time that have this side hustle and I am working a lot, and so having an example of like how to find that balance has been really
Mhm.
awesome.
I love that. I makes me so happy. She also does that for me. So what would you tell someone considering joining the Grant Writing Unicorn Collective?
Do it. Like, I think I've talked to a few different prospective students on the phone, and I probably sound like I'm like getting paid to advertise to you guys because I mean, it literally changed my life. Like, just some perspective, like, I'm going to be making almost twice as much as I was in my last job with my new job. And
Amazing.
like, I went from not having any direction to having this like really defined purpose and knowing exactly what I want to do in the
Mhm.
span of 8 or 9 months. Like it it has been life changing for me.
Oh my god, I'm gonna start crying.
Thank you guys.
I'm so grateful that you are a part of our community. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah, I just oh, I'm so happy. So if there's one thing that we can continue to do to continue to serve you, what would it be?
Yeah, I think that just being there to answer those questions that in those moments that like I feel like I've gotten in super over my head and I'm like,
Mm,
oh my God, like maybe I'm not cut out for this or like I'm not experienced enough for this. Like being there in those moments when I'm doubting myself and I don't know the answer, like
mhm.
being there to answer questions and like the coaching calls, going over materials and answering questions in the Facebook group and things like that. I think
Yeah,
those are the will be really helpful for me personally going into this
yeah.
job.
I'm just so stoked to like have you. Okay, my dog just I know this is inappropriate for the interview. My dog just jumped up onto like the table basically and is staring out of the window. Anyway, okay.
He's like, mom's not going to do anything while she's on the
Exactly.
call. So
Right, exactly. Anyway, I am so stoked to like go over the questions that you bring to these coaching calls, right? I am so excited for like that first um piece of work that you bring and you're like this is here I am digging in like these are the problems we're going to address like let's learn. I'm so excited to learn with you on that journey.
there's going to be
It's
so
going to
many
be fun.
questions. I hope you're ready for me to just like blow up the Facebook page. Get
I
ready.
love it. I love it. I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm ready. Ah, well, very cool. Well, those are kind of all my questions. I just am so, yeah, grateful to know you and grateful to have you a part of this community. It's so inspiring to see you make that career transition and just pull it off with such grace and such
Oh, thank
intention.
you.
Yeah, you're so special.
Well, thank you guys so much for just all
Yeah.
of your support. Like I am not at all stretching the truth when I say I would not be here without you guys.
We wouldn't be here without you. And that is a very true statement as well.